What if I told you this, for many people, isn't the problem? You've cut out bread, pasta, and all things gluten because you're convinced you're sensitive to it. You feel bloated, tired, or just plain unwell after eating it. But what if your gluten sensitivity isn't a gluten sensitivity at all? Well, the surprising truth is that for many, the symptoms you blame on gluten might actually be pointing to a deeper issue: inflammation. And understanding this difference is the key to finally feeling better. Not everyone who feels bad after eating a bagel has the same condition. And I want to talk about two conditions you might have heard of. One is celiac disease, and another one is called non-celiac gluten sensitivity. Now, celiac disease is an autoimmune disorder, and so when someone with celiac eats gluten, their immune system literally attacks the small intestine. This causes serious long-term damage. It's genetic, and you must have a strict avoidance of gluten. Even a crumb is dangerous. And with non-celiac gluten sensitivity, you're going to test negative for celiac, but when you eat gluten, you still get the brain fog, the bloating, and the fatigue. And your body isn't attacking itself in the same way, but it's definitely sounding an alarm. The good news is that true diagnosed celiac disease is actually quite rare, affecting only about 1% of the population. Okay, so if you aren't celiac, but bread makes you feel terrible, it must be the gluten, right? Well, science actually suggests it's a case of mistaken identity, and many people who believe they're gluten sensitive are often reacting to something else. So let's take a look at some research. One major culprit is likely something called FODMAPs. These are fermentable carbohydrates found in wheat, but also in onions, garlic, and many fruits. A key study found that when people with self-reported gluten sensitivity were placed on a low FODMAP diet, their symptoms improved significantly. But here's a twist. When researchers secretly reintroduced gluten into their diets, their symptoms didn't get worse compared to a placebo. In fact, in that study, only about 8% of people showed a specific reaction to gluten itself. For the vast majority, the trigger was likely the fermentable carbs, not the gluten protein. Then there's the power of the mind, the nocebo effect. Another recent study showed that people who believed they were sensitive to gluten had the same symptom flare-ups whether they ate real gluten or a gluten-free placebo. Their expectation of feeling sick was enough to actually make them feel sick. So for many of us, the problem isn't the bread itself. It's either the other compounds hitching a ride in the wheat or an already inflamed system that is just reacting to digestion in general. You aren't imagining the pain is real, but the villain you're blaming might be innocent. So if it's not always the gluten and it's not just in your head, what's going on? The real underlying issue for so many people is inflammation. So think of your gut like a gatekeeper. When it's healthy, it's strong and selective about what it lets through. But when your system is inflamed, either from stress, a poor diet, or other underlying health issues, that gate becomes damaged and leaky. This is what we often call leaky gut or intestinal permeability. Now imagine a food like wheat, which can be a bit harder to digest, coming into contact with this already irritated system. Your body isn't reacting to the gluten specifically, it's reacting because your defenses are down. It's like pouring salt on a wound. The food isn't the primary problem. The pre-existing wound is. This inflammation isn't always just in your gut either. It can be systemic, meaning it affects your entire body. This is why you might get brain fog, joint pain, or fatigue, not just bloating. Your body is already in a state of high alert, and digesting certain foods simply adds more fuel to the fire. The symptoms are real, but they're a sign of a deeper imbalance. And to truly solve this problem, you have to look at what's causing the inflammation upstream in the first place. So if gluten isn't always the problem, does that mean you should just keep eating it while you feel terrible? Well, not exactly. Think of it like a sprained ankle. Walking isn't bad for you, but if your ankle is swollen and inflamed, you probably should stay off of it for a while to let it heal. This is where avoiding gluten becomes important. When your gut is inflamed, whether from stress, processed foods, or other triggers, digesting complex proteins like gluten can be like running a marathon on that sprained ankle. You can probably do it, but it's probably gonna hurt. By removing gluten temporarily, you're essentially giving your digestive system a vacation. You reduce the workload and you lower the overall inflammatory burden on your body. This strategic pause clears the noise so your body can focus its energy on repairing the gut lining and cooling down that systemic inflammation. The goal here isn't to avoid bread forever. The goal is to create a calm environment so you can fix the root cause. Once the inflammation is gone and the gut is healed, many people find they can reintroduce high-quality, fermented sourdough or ancient grains without any issues at all. So being gluten-free is just a temporary therapeutic strategy to help you get back to feeling like yourself. We've covered a lot today. from the science of FODMAPs to the silent role of inflammation. If there's one thing I want you to walk away with, it's this. Your symptoms are real, and they are a message that something deeper is happening inside you. If you've been struggling, I encourage you to dig deeper. Work with a qualified professional who has experience in helping people with food sensitivities. As a board-certified clinical nutritionist, I can help you run the right lab tests and investigate the true sources of your inflammation. Together, we can create a personalized diet modification plan that gets to the root of the problem. Your health journey should be approached with curiosity, not anxiety. And my goal is to help you heal your gut so you can live a life where you don't have to fear food. If you found this video helpful, or if this mystery sensitivity sounds familiar, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your story. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into your health. Here's to healing from the inside out, and I'll see you in the next video.